etc. A little TV, a little NFL, a little NBA, a little UFC. So it's not going to be a long, um, what I call intro. We can get right into the show. I appreciate you being here. Once again, this is Strange Talk with Doc. You're welcome to subscribe, to share, to comment, to like, to dislike, whatever you feel like doing is great with me. I just appreciate you listening in today. So we're going to start up with this. Jennifer Crumbley became the first parent in the United States to be found guilty of involuntary manslaughter on Tuesday, February the 6th, for the mass shooting committed by her teenage son, Ethan Crumbley. Now, the father also has to appear in court on trial for the same charges as the mother. This is a step forward in responsibility coming down to the parents. If they had anything to do with obtaining the weapon that's used in a mass shooting, if they had any clue that their child was giving them hints or actually discussing this in the home and these type of things were blown off, oh, that's my baby. He's just talking nonsense. There's no more, that's my baby. He's just talking nonsense. You got to act. You got to be proactive in these situations. Get them the help that they need so that they do not harm innocent people. Now, I don't know what kind of time Jennifer's looking at. I don't know what kind of time the husband's looking at. But since the mother has been convicted, I think it would behoove the father to probably take a plea deal if there's one on the table, unless he wants to really gamble and take a chance and lose his freedoms, his liberties, because lives was lost. And Ethan did this crime. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But some of this responsibility does have to fall to the parents. You have to know who you arm, and you have to know how your weapons are being stored in your own home. You have a responsibility as a gun owner to make sure that things are taken care of in a manner, a proper manner, where kids can't get to them. If you have a kid that's mentally ill or suffering from some kind of depression and you ignoring them, it's on you. The parent, the onus is on the parent. And I appreciate this court, I appreciate this jury for coming down with this decision. Yesterday, Joel Osteen's church, his mega church in Houston, had a woman in a trench coat open fire. She's now dead. A 5-year-old was also critically injured in the shooting. I don't know. I've never been to a Joel Osteen church. I've never been to what you would call a mega church. But I think that we have reached a point in time in our society where if they are not there, they need to be there. Metal detectors need to be, and it's a sad state of affairs to say this. Metal detectors need to be at the front door of churches, temples, mosques. We can no longer go with this idea that this is some good Christian walking through the door. You don't know what the person's mental state is. And I'm hoping that Joe Osteen is not only paying for private security for himself around that pulpit, but he's also paying for private security at those front doors, those side doors. And I'm not just calling out Joe Osteen, I'm calling out all mega churches. This idea that you could just pray that somebody won't come in and do dastardly evil things is ridiculous, because people are going to do it. This ain't the first time. This won't be the last time. Tragedy was averted. And this is a fortunate situation that tragedy, more tragedy, this could have been horrible. I don't know how many weapons she had. I don't know how much she was really into doing what she was doing, why she brought her child. There's a lot of questions and a lot of layers to this onion that need to be peeled. But you know what? Like I said, this could have been so much worse. I mean, it's a damn shame that we have to have children go through metal detectors, but we need metal detectors almost everywhere now, because that's the society we live in. We cannot trust. We cannot trust that people got up this morning and want to do the correct things. We have to think that somebody had a bad day, a bad weekend, a bad month, having a bad year, having a bad life, and they want to take it out on the innocents. And we have to do everything that we can to protect those who need protection the most, who cannot retaliate, who cannot defend themselves. That's the elderly, youth, hospitals, schools, churches, etc. A federal court ruled that President Trump does not have immunity from charges that he plotted to overturn the 2020 election. This court, this federal court judge did the right thing. Trump should not be immune. We cannot have anybody sitting in the White House who feels that they are immune from, prosecution, because then that opens the door to a person doing anything that they want with no consequences. We can't have anybody who cannot suffer consequences. I mean, you take an oath, and that oath is that you're going to uphold certain standards criminally, morally, and responsibly. And we cannot have somebody sitting in orders who feels that if I have a rival, I can have them killed because I have immunity. I have a rival, I can have them destroyed because I have immunity. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to leave office if I don't want because I'm immune. And we shall see how this turns out after that. So, Wednesday is Valentine's Day, people. Wednesday's Valentine's Day. Are you prepared? Have you went out there and bought your trinkets? Have you prepared for your meals? Because I'm going to tell you now, Wednesday, that same restaurant that you would go to on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday is going to be three times the meal on Wednesday. Those roses are going to be 3 to 4 times the price on Wednesday. Don't be a fraud and a phony. Don't go out and get engaged on Wednesday. Do it today, do it Friday, do it Saturday, but don't do it on Valentine's Day. Don't be just one of gazillion people who pick this fraudulent ass day to go out and say, well, this is a great day to get engaged because you want some points for remembering your engagement day. Most of us men are not going to remember our engagement day. That's not what we do. And when you do it on a birthday, when you do it on Christmas, when you do it on New Year's or any of the major holidays, you're cheating so that you can get these points down the line. Hey, baby, I remember the day we got engaged. She's more concerned about her wedding anniversary, not the day she got engaged. I just wanted to put that out there. So, because the NFL is over, and we're just going to have this USFL come up soon. There's no baseball, we only got basketball. TV has started to return. At least it has returned to me. Abbott Elementary season 3, the first episode was very good. There was some changes to the staff, not the characters in the show, but a character moved around. I don't know if this character is going to come back to the school or how they're going to do this, but it's going to be interesting to see. This was what I would call a very long episode. It seemed like it was an hour episode to kick it off the season. You got all three Law and Orders out there. Uh, SUV is taking a wicked turn to the left that I don't like. Olivia Benson's character is out of control. I mean, she's doing things that she shouldn't be doing. It seems like she's trying to chase an Emmy. I don't believe she's going to get one. She's not that great an actress. I do like organized crime and the OG Law and Order. And I held on to a bunch of programs. Like I have not watched Power with Tommy. I have not watched Bass Reeves. I have not watched Fargo yet, but I have them all on hold. But I did start off with Power Book 3, Kanan, Raising Kanan. And this season seems to revolve a lot around Unique's older brother, Ronnie. Uh, Ronnie is a creep. Okay, let's put that out there right now. Ronnie is what I would call a creepy dude in the neighborhood. I don't think people would stand for him, especially back in the days. There was no just one guy running around like he was a posse of one. And this, we're talking the 80s and 90s. We're talking a heavy drug crews. No one person could stand up against a crew. So I want to see how this story turns out. Uh, there was a confrontation between the two brothers, and it didn't end well. Then you got Raj and her brothers, uh, Marvin, and damn, I can't think of the other brother who's over drinking. So there's a lot going on. Kanan and his mother not getting along. Kanan's still hanging out with Famous, that's his homeboy. And before I forget, Curb Your Enthusiasm has also returned for his final season. Larry Davis' character is getting into the same kind of shenanigans that he was getting into before, arguing for no reason. If you like that kind of thing, I mean, where it's just nonstop bickering and sometimes you forget what they even bickering about, then this is the show for you. So going back to Law and Order, Sam Waterston is exiting the show after more than 400 episodes. His last episode is going to be on Thursday, February the 22nd. Now, Sam Waterston plays District Attorney Jack McCoy. He used to be ADA Jack McCoy back in the days. He's the older man now, so he's taken over the lead district attorney. I think it's time for him to bail out. He sounds old. He doesn't seem to be really in it. His character doesn't really add much to Law and Order anymore. So we'll see how they let him go out because they usually don't let these characters leave Law and Order well. When you leave Law and Order, you usually leave under some kind of controversy. Your character gets killed or your character gets involved in some kind of shenanigans that it forces you out the door. But let's see if they respect him enough to let him leave standing, walking tall. We had the Hall of Fame class of 2024 announced. Dwight Freeney from the Colts, always with his Yankee hat, very good player. Andre Johnson from the Texans, wide receiver. Randy Gradishaw from the Denver Broncos. Patrick Willis from the San Francisco 49ers. Steve Mongo McMichaels. You know him not only from the Chicago Bears 1985 team, but he was Mongo, one of the four horsemen in the WCW. Devin Hester, a beast of a receiver, uh, return man. Uh, this dude, the only one who ever did it better than him was Deion Sanders. And Julius Peppers, Mr. North Carolina basketball and football, played for the Carolina Panthers. He also played, I believe, for the Chicago Bears, as did Devin Hester uh, and Steve McMichael. So they were highly represented in this class. This past week, we had the NFL honors. Lamar Jackson won his second MVP. Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson won his second MVP. He has to now see what he could do about turning this. We know that he's an elite player, but now winning some elite games for Baltimore when it matters most in the playoffs. San Francisco's running back Christian McCaffrey won an Offensive Player of the Year. I was kind of shocked that he beat out Tyreek Hill, but he had an outstanding season. He led the league in rushing. Cleveland Browns defensive end Miles Garrett won the Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of people thought it should go to TJ Watt, but you know what? I don't really know what to say about that. I think they're both outstanding players. They're game changers. They wreak havoc. So it's well deserved by Miles Garrett. Houston Titans quarterback C.J. Stroud won the Offensive Rookie of the Year. There was nobody else who could have won this award or should have won this award. Puka, a strong second, but he's not outdoing a quarterback who turned around a whole franchise. And his teammate, Houston Texan defensive end Willie Anderson Jr., won the Defensive Rookie of the Year. This makes back to back seasons where both the offensive and defensive rookies of the year came from the same team. Last year was the New York Jets with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. And the Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Skansky won the Coach of the Year. He also won this award in 2020 with the same franchise. I guess a lot of people, I don't understand why people would think that Cleveland was going to be bad. They had Watson for the beginning of the season, they had a good stout defense. Nick Chubb was healthy. I thought that they were going to have a good season to begin with and be a playoff team. I thought D'Amico Ryan should have won Coach of the Year without a doubt. Quarterback Joe Flacco for the Cleveland Browns won the Comeback Player of the Year. Okay, I thought about it over the long haul. Did Joe Flacco deserve this? Yes, he did, because not only did he win the start 5 games, he took them to the playoffs. He kept the momentum alive when this season could have fell completely apart for the Cleveland Browns, and he did not allow that to happen. Now, I know a lot of people said Hamlin should have won it because this man was on the door of death. But because he played so sparingly, he already won every award that you could think of. He won the award of being alive, being able to appreciate and smell the flowers. So Hamlin's a winner regardless of if he gets a trinket or not. Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator Jim Swartz won the assistant coach of the year. So it was heavy on the Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns this year and the Chicago Bears. They all got to shine. I thought that maybe the assistant coach for the Kansas City Chiefs defense, his name is Spagnola. He should have probably won the assistant coach of the year because the Chiefs defense were beasts, and as we know, the final tally, the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champs. The San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey won the Air and Ground Players of the Year, respectively. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver C.D. Lamb won the Moment of the Year for the 92-yard touchdown versus the Detroit Lions. That was spectacular. Tommy DeVito from the New York Giants, the quarterback, won the Celebration of the Year for that Italian hand gesture. Pittsburgh Steelers defensive tackle Cameron Haywood won the Walter Payton Man of the Year. This was his sixth time being nominated, and he finally got it. Uh, that's a great honor to be able to put that Walter Payton patch on your jersey for the rest of your career. So, congratulations to him. New England Patriots long snapper Joe Cardina won the Salute to Service Award, and a man named Tom Grassi, a Green Bay Packer fan, won Fan of the Year. I didn't even know they gave out Fan of the Year awards, but good for him. Now, the Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes won his third career Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 58 in an overtime 25-22 Chiefs win over the 49ers. He hit Nicole Hartman with a 3-yard pass as time was basically running out in the first overtime. Was this a great game? No, nobody really shined. I think the people who shined the most were the defense. Uh, Kyle Shanahan uh, did not seem to have an offensive play that could get a good burst of yards at any period during this game. He could not figure out what Spagnola's defense was doing, so he could never get these big chunk yards. Christian McCaffrey took a physical beating. It seemed like a lot of the 49ers took physical beatings. They lost Greenlaw early in the game to a non contact injury. It wasn't like the Chiefs had a lot of long uh, plays themselves. I mean, there was a 52-yard pass early in the second quarter. Uh, Also, they were just consistent. They played tough. Pacheco ran hard. Uh, the fourth quarter, they allowed Patrick Mahomes, this defense, to get too many scrambles. He kept the plays going. There was a big block of a extra point. This dude hadn't missed an extra point all year, and this blocked and this threw things off. At one point, they could have had the Chiefs where they needed a touchdown as opposed to a field goal. And that could have been a big difference. I mean, it wasn't a lot of what I would call major drops. There wasn't a lot of pass interference penalties that really affected anything. There were a couple of fumbles. Christian fumbled, Pacheco fumbled. It was a quality game. It was an entertaining game. But Andy Reid showed that he was elite and that Kyle Shanahan is not on his level. This man had 2 weeks to come up with some kind of play that he could at least get Kittles going over the middle and get these 8 yard chunks to help move the ball down the field because San Francisco was ahead in this game, not by a lot, but enough 3 points here and there for most of the game, but he could never make that three turn into 10 points. A 10-point lead would have been huge for them at any point, maybe to even just kill a momentum that a team like the Chiefs have because the Chiefs are never going to give up. They're going to grind it out, they're going to fight. This was a different kind of Chiefs team that you normally see. It wasn't a high octane offense. This was a grinding team. This was a tough team. This was a team whose DBs are were playing elite. I mean, Debo didn't get much separation. They only used a nuke here and there. They barely used Kittles at all. I mean, I was left more confused by San Francisco's offense than anything. And you know what? Like I said, I have to tip my hat to Spagnola and Andy Reid and that defense for coming and showing up and showing out. Okay, so halftime, you had Usher. Was it the greatest halftime of all time? Don't get caught up in the moment. Don't be a prisoner of the moment. It was not. It was a decent halftime. Usher broke out the hits. Alicia Keys was a little off when she started singing. Little John and Luda came out. That was all right. Jermaine Dupri was out there looking like CeeLo Green, dressed as some kind of little boy or Oompa Loompa. He also had her come out there for a little while. I don't know the link between her and Usher, but she was playing the guitars. I guess this allowed him to do a outfit change where he came out on some skates. I didn't know the dude skated so well, but that's neither here or there. Was it an entertaining halftime? Sure, it was entertaining. Usher's got hits after hits after hits, so it was good to see. I didn't even notice Will I Am. I heard he was there. I watched the halftime performance, but I did not notice Will I Am. I guess people's looks change so much over time, you can't really tell. Like I said, this was a good ending to a football season. We'll see what the NFL does next year as far as halftime performances. We had J Lo and Shakira the year before, I believe. I mean, are they going to want to go more uh, country or ballad, or are they going to want to stay more hip hop? Hold on, we also had 50 Cent and Dr. Dre and people like that. I believe that might have been last year. I might be confusing the J Lo year with the Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre year. Forgive me for that, but it was over a year ago. Like I said, I appreciate everything. I thought the game was well taken care of. There was no big controversies. You know what? Screw yourself with this is rigged. This is football. It be one of the hardest things to rig. So I'm not buying into that conspiracy. I think that's total garbage. This was Vegas, so it seemed like everybody had a ball. You could, not only enjoy yourself with the game, but you can enjoy yourself with the surroundings, the festivities, the food, the gambling, the entertainment. I mean, I wish I could have been there. I think it would have been a great time to have been in Vegas. And this is from a person that's been to Vegas about 30 times, but I've never been for any kind of phenomenon like this. So, but I have no jealousy in my heart. I appreciate that the fact that these people seem to enjoy themselves and that there was no tragedies. People thought that they could not contain themselves. Athletes, young rich men going to Vegas without arrest and controversies. And as far as I know, there was no controversy. There was no major arrest. All the football players showed up and did their jobs. So you know what? Stop wishing. If you wish the worst for people and you don't get it, shame on you for doing so. Don't look for everything to be a TMZ, a Daily Mail, a Lipstick Alley moment. Sometimes people can just be decent people and go about their life and just have fun. UFC had a card this week, and Jack Hermanson took on John Pfeiffer, and Jack Hermanson actually beat Pfeiffer by unanimous decision. I didn't really get into this card because I did not care too much. UFC has really not held my attention to start off 2024. So I left this card alone. I just wanted to let you know. Now, the card that's coming up this weekend, I'm into. You got Alexander Volkanovski taking on Ila Tupuria for the featherweight championship. You got Robert Whitaker taking on Paulo Costa. I will believe this fight happens when I see this fight happens because something always happens with Costa and something always happens with Whitaker. By Thursday, one of these two dudes could be out. So we don't know. You also got Ian Machado Gary taking on Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal's a beast. Gary's a great fighter. And we got Mirage Delavicious taking on Henry Cejudo. We haven't seen Cejudo in a minute. I want to see what Cejudo looks like. Anthony Hernandez is fighting, but nobody has been determined to be his opponent as of yet. Amanda Lemos is taking on Mackenzie Dern. That should be all right. Marcos Virgilio de Lima is taking on Justin Taffa. I don't expect one of them to survive this heavyweight clash. Yang Ming Yi is taking on Brinson Rebelio. Uh, you got Yushaka Kinsanaka taking on Danny Barlow. And you got Miranda Maverick taking on Andrea Lee. Like I said, this should be a pretty good card. I look forward to this card. This one I will be watching no matter what, especially since there is no more NFL. So the Raptors forward, Scotty Burns, and Atlanta Hawks guard, Trey Young, who I thought deserved it, they both have been named as injury replacements by Adam Silver in the Eastern Conference, and they'll be taking the place of 76ers center Joel Embiid and New York Knicks forward Julius Randle. Now I'm going to give you what I call the games of the week in the NBA. Today we got San Antonio taking on the Raptors, Denver going up against Milwaukee, Golden State versus the Jazz, Minnesota Timberwolves are taking on the Clippers. Tuesday you got Boston versus Brooklyn, Miami versus the Bucks, the Kings versus the Suns. Wednesday you got Brooklyn versus Boston. Again, first one was in Brooklyn, the second one is in Boston. Then you got San Antonio taking on the Mavs. You got the Kings going up against the champion Nuggets. You got the Lakers going into Utah to play the Jazz. You got the Clippers going into Golden State to play uh, the Warriors. Thursday, you got Golden State going into Utah to play the Jazz. Then Friday, we kick off All Star Weekend. You got the 2024 All Star Celebrity Game on Friday. I'll be leaving that alone. I'm not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith. I don't want to see him do anything. I don't want to have to see his face. I don't want to have to hear his voice. You also have the Rising Stars game. Saturday, you got All Star Saturday night from Lucas Oil Stadium there in Indiana. You got the Kia Skill Challenge. You got the 3-point contest. You got Steph Curry taking on Sabrina in a 3-point challenge. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know distances. The man can't shoot from the same distance as a female. I don't know if they're gonna move the baskets forwards or backwards for her, and he shoots on one and she shoots on another. You also have the slam dunk contest. And then Sunday, you got the Western Conference taking on the Eastern Conference in the 2024 NBA All Star. You know what? There's not a lot to really talk about as far as closing the show goes on today because here's the deal. It was Super Bowl weekend. It was about Trump, Taylor Swift. It was about Usher. It was about halftime. It was about commercials. None of the commercials really stood out to me so much. I thought Arnold with his neighbor versus neighbor was all right. I thought the Boston Boys for Dunkin' Donuts was all right. I actually liked the stupid big gummy from Nerds Candy. I thought that was all right. Uh, I wasn't so much into the Beyonce Verizon commercial. I mean, it's like none of them really just reached out and grabbed me, and I said, you know what, this is spectacular commercial. It's not like the old days where you would see a commercial, at least to me, and say, man, that was something else. But the game was good. Oh, and I did want to mention Taylor Swift. There's no problem for me between Travis and Taylor. That's their thing. If the media wants to eat that up, let them eat that up. When they're big couples, transcending couples, they're going to cause media sensations that other people might not cause. Just because they're not this ain't Kim and Kanye, this ain't Jay and Beyonce. Now, what they do and what they get into, I don't care about as far as their personal life. I'm not with that. I don't care who dates who. Am I mad that they show her? Oh no, I'm not mad. But you know what? She's helping the game. She's putting eyes on the game that maybe people would not have normally watched. She's making those girls who might be cheerleaders and dating some quarterback in high school, they're uh, vicariously living the Taylor life. Their boyfriends, Travis and their Taylor, in their local high school or community. So you know what? She's making people feel a certain kind of way. She seems to be clean and she's not bringing any controversy. She's not saying anything nasty or negative. So why would I care? You know what? I don't think this multi-billion-dollar business cares because they wouldn't focus on her so much. There's a lot worse that you could do as opposed to having somebody like Taylor Swift be out front and center. Now let's see what they do. Do they go on and marry and have kids, or 2 months from down the line, do they just disperse and they let this thing devolve? I don't know, and I don't really care. But I'm not gonna hate on this young lady, and I'm not gonna hate on Travis, and I'm not gonna hate on the NFL for putting a camera on her. Sure, there are other people who probably want the camera on them, but you want to know something? When it comes to basketball and Savannah's in the stands, are they going to focus on Miss James more than they would anybody else's wife in that league? Sure, they will. That's just the way it goes. Now, this has been Strange Talk with Doc. I do this show every Monday. I try to be consistent and always have a fresh, brand new show for you with new ideas and new things to talk about. And next week will be no different. I will be here next Monday. I haven't come up with my tagline or title as of yet. But once again, you are free to always tune in, even go back and look at my library. Maybe I have some titles there that might resonate with you. I always start off each and every show, other than a show like this one, with a point to make. And I make that point and then I make a closing statement back to the first point that I made because maybe during the course of the show, things have popped in my brain that I didn't initially talk about. So feel free to go back through my library. I have a lot of programs up there. I even have clips up there that you can go through. Some are very short, 1 minute long. I think that's what YouTube allows as far as clips. This way you can hear what I have to say on a multitude of topics because there's nothing that I'm afraid to talk about here. You say, oh man, that's not a place for you to speak. Yes, it is a place for me to speak. I can have an opinion, I can be wrong. See, that's me. I'm not afraid to be wrong about something. And if you feel that I need to be corrected about something, feel free to do so. But also feel free to share, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to tell you, like I tell you each and every time, people, peace to you and peace to yours.